What is it like living abroad as a black man from the United States of America? So, I am so lit for this interview today because I have only interviewed women. And don't get me wrong, I'm always represent for the women, okay? Always. But I'm so excited to actually hear the perspective of a man from the United States on living abroad. So today we're going to be talking to RJ Mood, and we're going to be asking him all about his experiences living abroad as a black man from the United States. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. I see he's already in here, period. All right, let me see. This light above my head is annoying, but we're going to try to ignore it.
What's good? How you doing?
Hello, RJ.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am not too bad. It is almost the end of the week, so definitely ready for whatever the weekend has for me out here.
Yes, I'm here for it. And speaking of out here, tell us a little bit about who you are. What is out here? Where you at? What's going on?
I am on the other side of the TSA if you need to find me. My name is RJ. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I moved from South Florida, and over the last 3 years, I spent 99% of my time living in Medellin, Colombia. And it has been a complete 180 for me and what my life has and what I'm even doing nowadays. So it is springboarded me into a lot of different opportunities. I'm just grateful to be here. So thank you once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know you were from Philly. I feel like there's
Yeah.
quite a few people in Medellin from Philly. We all know Philly's about to smack the Cowboys tonight.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, my husband is a really, really big Eagles fan, and tonight we're so
Solid
excited to be
brother.
kicking off the NFL season with this game. But that's not what we're here to talk about. But I just had to make that plug real quick, just in case there are any Cowboys fans watching. So, so, RJ, tell us a little bit about why you decided to leave the United States in the first place. Like, how did this moving abroad journey even begin for you?
Honestly, it began just traveling. Realistically, in 2017, I was actually invited to Cartagena, and that was a unique experience because Cartagena wasn't on anyone's radar. When I was telling, my friends and my family that weren't going on the trip that I was going, they're like, what you got going on? What are you doing going to Colombia? Because you know how it is in America. We only know what they show us versus what actually is going on.
Yep,
And one thing I realized, bear with me one second, let me just
you're good.
thing I realized was when I got to Cartagena, it was the most eye-opening experience. Coming from Philadelphia, living in South Florida, I'm a Black American. And that was the first time I was embraced. Somebody walked up to me excited, and I'm like, what is he about to say? And he's like, tú eres mi color, tú eres mi color. And I'm like, at the time, I didn't even speak enough Spanish to really know what he was saying. But my friend, she's fluent. She was like, no, he said, you're my color. He wants to, he's happy to see you here. Once again, it was at a time that Americans weren't coming. And
Mm,
that was my first real experience in a place where I didn't speak the language and everything else, but I felt immediately like a kindred spirit because that is not how I am embraced walking around in America. And seeing that the first time was like, okay, this is going to be different. And that led me into an entire let me show others this. Now, when it came down to moving abroad, I had some options that I was looking at, but the reason why was because I think it's like a thing that's going on right now. Everybody's saying it, I wanted to escape the American rat race. I was a business owner already at the time. I had been overworking in an environment with an office, especially because of the pandemic. And I was like, okay, what is this going to look like? Because yes, I'm making money, but the things just keep costing more, like just basic stuff.
rat
And that is
race.
not a scenario where you want to be in, where it's just like everything keeps going. And when you make your own money, it's just like, oh, well, they're not going to give you a raise for the cost of living. Like you dig your own pot. And I'm like, okay, this can't be. This can't be something that I'm going to spend the next 35 years doing and thinking that this makes sense. What also happened was I started to realize that accumulating a bunch of stuff. You know, I was in South Florida, so in South Florida, everybody's got a Benz, and I was
Mm,
everybody. So I went through at least two different Mercedes and buying them, thinking that that was what I was looking for. Realistically, in college, I used to have a Mercedes Benz E350 drop top. It was all
mm,
white, brown interior. I remember it all through college. And it wasn't until I was an adult I actually got the car and forgot about even having that. But once I got the car, that allure of having the car, it was just a vehicle. And I started to realize all this accumulation of the stuff and things that was around me wasn't actually leading me anywhere to happiness. So taking with financials and saying, okay, even if you're making good money, how many times can they go from $50 a bag of groceries to 75 to $100 a bag of groceries? How many more Benzes or ASOS deliveries can you get before you have enough stuff? And what are you missing? And I was missing something that I was like, I remember that feeling when I went and somebody said "Tu eres mi color," and I don't see it here. I don't feel it here. So that was really the reason I left, because I got awakened during a travel experience with something that I had never felt. And then when sitting around all of the things that America told me to accumulate, it had none of the same value as just somebody being happy that we had the same color skin.
mm. You know, what's interesting is I feel like it took me some time to get to the point where the consumerism really hit me. So the first time I traveled to Colombia was in 2019. So I was in Medellin mostly, and then I visited Cartagena, and like I came back home and I was like, okay, I really want to try to adopt this mentality that I had whenever I was abroad, like even though I'm back in the US. And it was so hard. I mean, like, I just got sucked back in. And I mean, and I was even telling
Mhm.
people the other day, I was like, listen, I left last year. Like, yeah, me and Mel left last year to leave the US, and we have visited 3 times. And every time I go back to the US, it happens again every single day. I got the Amazon packages coming in. I can feel like that stress. I can feel the rat race of like, what are you doing? How productive are you?
Mhm.
How much money do you make? Who has the bigger house? Who has the bigger car? And people think I'm exaggerating when I tell them. I'm like, y'all, we literally went from a 3-story townhome to being happier living out of suitcases. There were times we were in 1-bedroom apartments, and like our mental health, our physical health, our peace, our relationship was better. And I love that you pointed that out, because I think that it's a touchy subject. Like, people from the US don't like to hear that, you know what, y'all, we buy a lot of stuff that we
Stuff.
don't need.
You know what's crazy though, with the stuff and things, because I was starting to have this feeling already, like, all right, you're getting enough stuff. But the craziest experience that I had with the move abroad and the actual action, never mind even what it took, but actually going and deciding what it was that I was going to take. All of my stuff was around me. I was literally in the middle of it, and it was just all around me. And imagine having going from I'm getting packages and a bunch of stuff. I mean, like neck massagers and foot massager, and so much stuff. Like
Stuff.
like a bad infomercial kind of scenario. And then I run in and I realize that max, I have to fit everything in all of this stuff into 3 bags, maybe 2 carry-ons,
Mm-hmm.
maybe one carry-on and 3 check bags in a book bag. What do I take? And it hit me that just how big this was going to be for me, because I knew then that I couldn't take this entire mentality with me.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to take, but it was like, look how much stuff you have. Think about how much money these things cost, how many hours of work that you put into these, and that you're at a crossroads where it actually means nothing now.
Mm.
And which of these nothing things do you take to go and start a new life? It was just like, nobody prepared me for that one.
I literally tell people that it was easier for me to move abroad than it was for me to move from just like one city to the next whenever I
Hmm.
was in the US, which I know sounds crazy. I'm like, y'all, when you move abroad, you are literally shedding. I'm like, it is a completely different mindset. So honestly, I 100% believe it.
Hmm.
Now, you told us that you went to Cartagena, but you ended up moving to Medellin. So, wait, I'm like, we missed something here. Why did you end up choosing Medellin? I mean, I don't need to be convinced. I love Medellin. So, but I want to hear from your perspective. Why Medellin?
Well, energy is very important. And people always use the word manifesting, and you would be surprised if you take inventory on your life, what you have manifested. But because America, you don't have time to actually think about things, you don't get that pause that you need to say, I actually did something. You just keep going, keep going, keep going. So I told you once I went to Cartagena, the second time I went, so when I came back, I posted pictures and everything. The second time I went, I brought two people. And that was honestly the beginning of my travel business. So I do own a travel company. We bring people all over the world, but we do specialize specifically in Colombia. I say that is because the second time happened. And then the third time I went in July of 2017 for the first time. I returned in April of 2018. And by January, I had brought 15 people the following January. And then that was just it. But going there, bringing tourism and tourists there, I realized that one, I got people knew me because there wasn't a lot of Americans coming. And then when you're an American that's coming, but then you always got a bunch of different people around you, I just knew a lot of people and I realized just how small it was, Cartagena. I also lived in South Florida. So when I was in South Florida, I worked inside. I'm not outside all the time. In Cartagena, it's hot, just as South Florida, maybe even a little bit hotter. But during the day, there's not much activity to do unless you're like beach. But then again, the beach is a little different experience in Cartagena also. So I factored that in mind. But when I sat with myself and talked about doing the inventory and manifesting, when I was when I was a kid, I went to New York in fifth grade, and I was like, "Yo, I love this city. The city is so great." But even then, even in Philadelphia, I didn't like the cold. I didn't like even the thought process of car driving, not driving a car in New York, but always getting on the sub or the train like that. I'm like, if I could live in a place that had perfect weather that reminded me of New York City with all the different neighborhoods and boroughs. I'm a little kid thinking about this. So it
Wow.
wasn't until I'm a grown person, and the first time I went to Medellin, I took my father there for Father's Day, and I saw it with my own two eyes. And I tell people, when you come out of the tunnel, the airport tunnel, make sure you look. And when I looked, I saw the most beautiful thing. I said, I don't even know what I'm looking at because from the city of Philadelphia, I can't even wrap my head around this. So when I said, okay, let me go to Medellin, it was based off of something I thought about when I was all the way in fifth grade. Did not even know that this place ever existed. It was just something I
Mm,
thought about. And I was like, one, Cartagena is too small, but two, Medellin is obviously still the energy of Colombia. But this
yeah.
is what I thought about before I even had a passport, before I even had vision to even go further than Philadelphia. So it found me, and I was like, I'm going to go find it and see what that looks like.
Mm, beautiful. Y'all, I mean, when I try to explain Medellin to people, I'm like, I can tell you it with my words and I can show you the photos and I can show you the videos, but it's a completely different vibe once you are here. I think it's so dope that you brought your dad here.
Hmm.
Um 2 weeks ago, my mom and my sister were here for the first time. It was actually my mom's first ever time out of the United States. So
Yeah.
I just like felt so grateful to be able to really show her, Medellin and this lifestyle and actually living abroad because
Hmm.
you've been doing this for years. Like, that there is a difference between vacationing and travel. There's a difference between travel and living abroad. And I just I love that you have this drive for showing this life to other people and especially Black people because
Yes.
God knows we don't know. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, y'all, I didn't know the stuff you see me doing now. Don't get it confused. Do not get it confused. Okay. I did not know anything about any of these things while growing up. So it really does feel like such an honor and a privilege and just so cool to be able to show other people, hey,
Hmm.
there's life outside of the US. There's fun life outside of the US. There's
Yeah.
black people outside of the US and outside of Africa. I mean, man, it's I could obviously like I could go on, but let me this is about you. So tell me a little bit more about how your life has changed since you decided to take this big leap. So I know you said before you were in Philly, you were in South Florida. So your day-to-day life now, like what is that like compared to what it was before you left the United States to live abroad?
Um, if I had to think about my day-to-day life right now, it is even changed from Medellin just because of access to certain things that I'm right now. I'm in Mexico, and the place I'm staying at, I've got my own like pool and everything. So I just get up, work out, watch the sunrise, go swimming,
Mm,
and then start my day. I wouldn't say I was doing those exact same things because that's kind of like in Medellin, I didn't have immediate access to a pool. Like I can just
mm-hmm.
walk upstairs and this is my pool. This is nobody else's pool. But I would tell you that the I have to go with Medellin because I've been there longer, and
Yeah.
I get that definitely gives more weight to what I'm about to say because there. I often, and people that go to move abroad, they often feel like a little weird about it because people aren't. I tell people, you need to give yourself grace because we may be educated, but we may not be educated on something like this. And a lot of people may feel like, well, my friends and my family are telling me I shouldn't go do this or I shouldn't move abroad. And, you still might pack all your things and roll out. Cool. But what you find abroad is that you'll find other people that went through that exact same thing. And one of the biggest things that I tell people when looking to move abroad, because now as a person that is traveling into other expat communities, it's even more apparent to me. It's already, but your community that you have and have access to and be a part of is going to be such a lifeline to you in ways that you just don't even understand. So my life abroad, in Medellin, it was a lot of going out with meeting people, going to different restaurants, meeting up with man. There was so much stuff to do in Medellin. Shout out to Herschel and Kiki. They would have like spades tournaments, like
Yep.
Tim at Skybox. We would man, we watched the election there. Like we were all in outside in another country, but going through the same things, missing family and friends, creating new relationships, navigating language, and my day to day life outside of being on forums like this and getting the message out, trying to give as much education as possible for people that are still in the United States so that they don't leave without anything that they can actually use as a resource. It's about building community. That's what I really try to do and trying to find better ways for somebody. We were on yesterday, and I think it was Tisha said, why, if you live in Atlanta and you go to party all the time and you pop bottles and you do all that fun stuff, why is that all you want to do when you go abroad?
Mm.
Why is that the value of where your life is? And it's just like what I have seen is so much more value back into my life. Listen, in Miami, I was a party promoter. I would take you to Live, Space, Story, whatever one you want for years.
Oh,
Like
Miami.
all of that. I have done all of these things. And it still led me out of the United States with the other side of what so many people are chasing. And I realized my day-to-day life is more so, what can I do that gives me like, people say like you only got one day, you don't know when your day is, and you people live like it's your last. But like really put thought to action in that process when like if my last video from last night was the last thing that I said, did I leave something that somebody can actually utilize, that somebody will be touched by? So I look at things a little bit differently now versus back at home when it was how much money can I make? I
Yeah.
need to make certain that did this car break down, I
Yeah.
got $2,000 to go fix it, as if $2,000 is just pennies. But that was the life. And now my life and quality of life and things I'm more so aligned with, are more about what makes us humans, beings on this actual earth, versus
Mm.
whatever they decide the currency is tomorrow.
Mm. And what I feel like is so powerful about what you're saying, and even earlier, whenever I was talking about how we can talk about these things all day, but it's a completely different feeling whenever you get here and you do it. But thinking about what really matters in life, even when you think about a place like Medellin and
Mhm.
how you realize like, oh, I'm kind of having a bad day, I'm in a bad mood, this happened. It's like, go outside. Like I'm like just like open the blinds. Like go walk a block to a park because you're not gonna be walking that far without finding a park. Like go
Yeah.
sit in a park. Like
Let
go
me
like
tell
it's
you.
these small, simple things that just bring joy to your life. And I feel like that was something I was fighting to find in the United States because I was constantly also hearing all the noise about the need to be successful and the need to accomplish this goal. And I'm not saying don't accomplish your goals. I'm just saying you get outside of the United States and your goals change.
100%. The target changes. And you were talking about just the beauty of Medellin. One of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen, and I really had to think about it, taking my United States experience and looking at what was just about my eye. The last place I lived in Medellin, I didn't have a balcony, but I had like beautiful, like high ceiling, floor to ceiling windows. So the view was just beautiful. I would sit there and just work. One day I was sitting there once I had first moved in, and I hear this noise, and I'm like, "What is that?" And it just sounded like a screeching, like ah, like what is going on outside? Like, are they getting into a fight? Well, what I actually looked up and saw, I saw two parrots. The ones that we usually see like at the state fair, red, beautiful red, blue, and yellow and green, and they're flying. And I'm like, bro, is that two parrots just flew past my house? And then the other weird thing that I thought about was it's two of them. That's weird. Every time I see birds, they usually by themselves, mind their business. But it was always two parrots. And every time after that, I always saw parrots together, which made me realize in the United States, we go to state fair, we see the parrot. Hey, you want to take a picture with the parrot? Parrot, most of the time, is by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, in the wild and in nature, how things are intended to be, these parrots are flying freely, not in the cage, how we're used to seeing them in the United States. And they're
Mm-hmm.
also together. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, community is, I'm telling you, like, community hits me like in my middle of my forehead every day because I see the signs that tell me like humanity is better off being neighborly to each other and communing with
Yeah.
each other than this silo aspect of life where if I don't get it and anybody that's directly connected to me, like, well, it's happened to my neighbor, it's not my house, so I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be in bad shape if we keep living like that in the United States for certain.
Yeah. No, I mean, just the individualistic culture in the US is it's so easy to get caught up in, and especially when it's all you know. And it's one of the things that I will always appreciate about traveling and living abroad is recognizing these people who they just give a shit about other people. Like it's like I mean, I can literally remember like being a little bit weirded out, and this is so sad, y'all. So I actually was getting I was like getting food from like a woman up the street, and like she was like inviting me in to eat, and like to me that was weird, and I had to check myself. I was like, Bianca, this is literally weird because you're not used to a
You're being the
culture.
weird one. She like,
Exactly.
be
Like,
nice
cause
to you.
I'm like, what you
I
mean?
just,
Like, you thought I was gonna eat here? I'm taking this food to go. I don't know you. But like from her perspective, she's like, I'm inviting you into my home, and it's just these are things that you can't know if you only stay
yep,
in your United States bubble. Like you have to get out. And like one of the
exactly.
beautiful things about Medellin, this is why I'm here for the third time, is because Colombians are they're so friendly, they're so kind, they are so fun. And on top of that, you also have the black community. Like I told people, I was like, listen, I'm not saying that you have to leave the United States. You do not leave the United States and expect the United States. But I know that, me and Mel, listen, y'all, we've been in 10 countries since last year. And I miss black people. So like coming to Colombia and like being able to get the best of both worlds, I'm like, Yeah, I'm not giving up either one. Like you move somewhere, you get immersed in the culture, but you can also have a community, like you said, that has they've done this. They understand what you're going through. They understand that you have people back home that may not support you. They understand that you got these people who are telling you that you're crazy. Like they get it, and it's almost like you have this whole other family, and
Yeah.
it just becomes something very beautiful.
Nah, I tell people, in life you get two families. Everybody wakes up here with a family, and like, but as you continue to get out, you actually gain a second family. And that's not saying that your first family isn't a part of your second family, but you have friends and people you meet along your journey that actually become like family. And what you
Yeah.
realize is, once it gets back down to the main principle, because it's often easy to forget in the United States, all of the things that we used to do that we don't have the time anymore, getting together as family, hanging out, going to some. I used to go to my mom used to send me to North Carolina to spend 2 weeks with my country ass cousins at Camp Marcy, who is my mom's like sister, but is her cousin. And I'm like, are they doing that anymore? Are they sending the country kids up to the city and they hanging out for the week? And it's like when you get abroad, you see like come November, mid-November, people are like, listen, you're gonna have to talk to me after January. It's about to be family season.
Yep.
I'm not trying to hear any of this. Like, listen, I have money or no, I don't have money, but money is not the reason I'm here. I'm here
Yeah.
because this and these people around me and that thought process. Because even you talked about the community in Medellin and coming back and seeing this. I will tell you, when I first got there, it was not like that. I appreciate the shout out to Bree, Mar Cedric, as well as Royal, because we all came together and created a Black and Medellin chat that did not exist with
Mhm.
multiple tabs and things that you can learn, things that you can do, ways you can get resources. And I tell people when you go to look abroad, the getting connected to these things is important because without it, and if it doesn't exist, one, you either have to create it, or two, you might be like, man, I really missed this, or I really
Yeah.
missed some understanding here. So think about what's important to you with this conversation.
Yeah. Y'all, literally tonight, me and Mel are going to a bar to watch the game with some other people here. Like to watch the NFL game. Let me be more specific. Like
Yeah,
we
because I think
love
there's
watching
a
football in the
soccer football
US.
game.
We're actually going to Elevate tonight.
Oh, shout out to Brian. He literally hit me up and said, make sure you send some people that way. So if you are in Medellin in the Parqueadas area, he is down there. Elevate Medellin. You guys go there and make sure y'all tell him I sent you.
Yeah, it'll actually be, and it'll be our first time there. So we're
Yo, the
excited to
food is
go. But
fire too.
I'm ready. I already been peeping it online. I'm like, okay, I see that fried fish. Okay, I got my eye on you.
They got some red beans and rice I had in there, and I was like, "What you got? Who was back there? Who was back there? Who gave you the recipe for this?" Nah, it was
I
good
am
stuff.
very excited. Um, I want to ask a question about, because we were already talking about family. One question that I get so often, and it's not always Black women, but a lot of times it is. People are like, Bianca, how do I convince my partner to do this? So, I mean, I've already said how excited I am to be having a man on here because, like I said, I'm constantly talking to women, and I just really want to hear I want to hear your perspective. So for the women out there who are like, I want to do this. I
Mhm.
want to go live abroad, but my husband is scared. My husband is not really trying to step into the unknown. My husband is like, well, what am I going to do there? All of this. What advice do you have for them?
Okay, I got you. The first thing, and this is doesn't have to do with gender, but this is where a lot of people get things messed up. Because you are so overwhelmed and you have so much going on, it may have crossed your mind to move abroad, or in your mind you have actually said, "I'm moving abroad." But most of us don't take the time to actually take thought out of our heads and actually put it down, like write it down as somewhere to be able to reference. Because once you think that, oh, it's only these five reasons, but once you go writing it down, you sit down with intention. And I tell people, typing it, excuse me, in your iPhone, that's one thing. But when you take a pencil and you take it to paper and you take from your brain, tell you to put this on paper, you're literally like coding something into your brain about what it is that you're looking to leave. Because a lot of people, they think they know why they're looking to leave, but they don't actually have it down. And it may be only five reasons in their head, but when they go look at it, there's actually 25. So
Mm-hmm.
when you first understand that, that is going to be a process that you need to go through if you're serious, male or female. Then, when you get into the other side of what you are looking for, what in a perfect world, and you can put even in a perfect world. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to find a perfect world, but in a perfect world, what would you like? Most of us have not been in a position to ask ourselves that question. Most people are
Mm.
used to getting empty conversations. Hey, how you doing? Nobody's like, man, I'm actually not doing too well. Next, go to that. So when asking yourself, what do you want? Be intentional with also in the same vein of what it is that you are looking to leave. Because those two right there kind of frames it and allows you to see it in front of your face. And then the
And you're
second
saying
thing,
to do this before you even go to your person? You're saying do this for yourself.
do this for yourself
Mm.
because imagine if your partner comes to you and says, here's a list of the reasons why I'm looking to leave and this is what I'm looking for, but you see on this list that they can't eat the food here anymore, like
Mm.
all of the food they have an allergy to. They can't, I can't eat chicken anymore or turkey or much of anything that we're used to, bread. Will that like cause somebody in a partnership relationship not to be like, well, you just get around that, you'll be fine. But looking and visualizing these things because it's all up here, you don't have
Yeah.
time. These things are important to the process of moving abroad because it also helps you narrow down where you want to go. But that
Yeah.
is a completely different topic. The second thing I will tell you is book the trip.
Mm.
Literally. At least just go see. Never mind even looking to relocate. Step one. So many people are like, I haven't left the United States, but I'm going on my first date with this country with this wedding ring. And if all goes right, I may pop the question. And I'm like, no, don't don't do that. But if somebody's being reluctant, hey, listen, look it up. Y'all love Chat GPT. Y'all can at least go there and find the things to do from a high level. Oh, look, we can go paragliding. We can go ATVing. We can go to Community 13. These are all things in Medellin. And once you get there, sometimes you have to love your partner enough to convince them of what you already know they want. So once you get there and you give them like, you want to do this, let's just go. Not talking about moving over there, but the whole time you're doing your research and like, yo, they have this bowling alley and you love bowling, but this bowling alley is like nothing like you've ever seen. So when you get here, like, oh, we're gonna go bowling. You're like, why are we going bowling? And we on vacation. And then you get there and it's a fire breathing, the fire dancers and a dude with a saxophone and you're like, this isn't bowling. And then wait, let me look at the bill. Wait, hold on. This call, what you doing? So you got to love your partner enough to convince them of what it is that you know that they may want, but it's the easiest thing to do is say no. And
Yeah.
most people are easy to go do that. But when you unravel some of this stuff, get it out of your head on the paper, start visualizing some of these things, and then you go take a trip and you feel that thing that we were talking about that you can't go sell on Amazon, the thing that just
Mm.
creep up the back of your neck and it's like, yo, I didn't even think I was going to expect this, and I'm experiencing it. You can't you can't let that monster back into the cage when it's hit somebody's life, and they're like, "Oh man, you might have got me. We might need to go back there and see what's going on." And it's a whole bunch of us down there. I wouldn't have never thought that.
Mm.
Take your time. You love the person, but sometimes that person will be stubborn. I'm stubborn. You might need to come around in a way, but that's just how some people are, and it's just for the
Yeah.
best. Like that's realistic.
No, I 10,000% agree. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, first of all, you gotta know your person. I'm like, I don't know your man, I only know my man. I'm like, I'm like, you gotta know your person, you gotta know timing, and you have to know how they're going to perceive and accept things. If they are just shutting it down, like, no, cannot do this, stop even asking. Be like, let's go spend 2 weeks in Colombia. Don't even, like you said, like, won't even gotta talk about moving right now, but know your person and take the step. So, I mean, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear this. I'm like we are very aligned because I feel like this is very similar advice to exactly what I give people. And I
Hmm.
know that we have talked so much about all the amazing things, and somebody is over here like, okay, y'all make it sound all good, but I know that everything that glitter ain't gold. So let me just go ahead and ask, what have been your biggest challenges with either moving abroad or living abroad?
Expecting America there. And you might not, you might
Mm,
think that comes down to a social thing, but I'm talking about just basic things that we are used to are set up in certain ways that are not the same way. So when we go into a renting an apartment, we go to a realtor. This realtor has gone and taken a test. And then from that test, they had to get hired by a reputable brokerage firm in order to rent and have access to. That's usually how it goes, right? Well, not abroad. That is not the case. And, anybody can rent you and or sell you a house. You can go on multiple sites and see the exact same property listed 5 times for 5 different prices, all ranging thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars, and like, well, what's the real price? How do you find that? Now, it didn't happen to me, thank God. Shout out to Drea from Origin and Culture. Her and my cousin were friends, so I actually had a leg up because I reached out to people that I didn't know, and they said, I know somebody that's in Colombia that can look out for you. And I
mm,
actually rented her place when I first moved down there. So I had a leg up, and this not happening to me. But it's so many people expecting America in a way where it's just like, well, clearly they gotta have a real estate system, right? No, that's not the case. These things are hard to navigate without someone pulling your coattail to it. Like,
yeah.
because you would just assume. Like, I talked to somebody and they were like, "Oh, well, I'm looking to sell my house in the United States and move, and I'm looking to get the property investment." And they've only spent like 2 weeks, and they can't name 3 neighborhoods in the city.
Mm,
And it's just like we take these expectations. Well, I just need to go buy a house, or I'm going to finance a house abroad. And it's just like your American credit is, it could be terrible in the United States and nobody in the world cares, or it could be great in
nobody.
the United States and also
Yeah.
nobody in the
And
world
still nobody cares.
cares. So these expectations that we have, because things are, I want to say regulated, but the system is set up in a certain way. Never
Yeah.
mind the societal things that we have. I see a lot of people having those problems. And, oh, well, I gave somebody $500, so they will hold it because they said there was a bunch of people looking, and then you just never see that $500 again.
Yeah.
And now you learn that, well, why don't I just ask somebody that has lived here if they have a vetted resource that they know?
Yep.
That's the easiest thing.
Yeah. Which I actually feel like is a perfect time to segue. I mean, this has been such a great conversation.
I
I'm
love.
so appreciative. I know whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, like there's definitely been some gems dropped. And one of the things we have learned is community, community, community. Like there are
Even the
resources. There
parents
are
do it.
people who can help you. So for the people who are like, I want to do this, and I might even be interested in Colombia. Tell us a little bit more about what you have going on, how people can get in contact with you.
Not a problem at all. So, Monday through Friday, one, I am on YouTube, Black Expat Life Abroad. You can go there if you are interested in moving abroad or know somebody. There are over 150 videos, probably at least an hour long, that we have done over the last 2 years that cover so many topics. So people ask me, like, well, can I talk to you? Like, go there on YouTube, and if I didn't answer something, then you can come back to me. But I have given you a lot of hours, so you can go there. What you guys can also do is go to moodtravelcolumbia.com. That's two O's in mood, two O's in Columbia. Do not end up in South Carolina. But if you go to moodtravelcolumbia.com, what you will find there is resources, so guides on actual things that you need. We have our expert page, so you can actually fill out information and have our experts reach out to you. Immigration lawyers, healthcare, the actual stuff that you need. We also have on-demand webinars. So we've done virtual relocation conference. You can purchase the webinar, watch it at your own leisure. It's over 6.5 hours worth of content. We have literally done our best to take everything that we learned, as well as all of the people that I know, and put it into a way where you can go to one place and actually see and take resources and steps from there. Lastly, we will be having another virtual conference. This will be live. This is going to be really dope because we are expanding as more people come in my inbox outside of Colombia. We're adding on Panama, Mexico, and Cape Town. So these locations will be present, as well as topics and conversation on how do you build wealth abroad? How do you pay off your student loans by moving abroad? I know what y'all got on your plate. I'm trying to do my best to bring all the resources to you in just one place. So, Bianca, I really appreciate you having me on to learn a little bit about what it is I do, who is I am, and why I am on the other side of the TSA if you need me.
Mm. Thank you so much, RJ. I really appreciate it. I mean, y'all, again, the gems have been dropped. He's giving you the information. I mean, hours and hours and hours of content. Leave your excuses behind. Like, ain't nobody gonna take them from you. Only you can decide to leave your excuses behind and start taking action. Make sure that you connect with RJ on YouTube. I know he's also on Instagram, TikTok as well. And yeah, thank y'all again for joining, whether you're live or the replay. And yeah, we will catch y'all next time. Bye.
Peace.